the City of Tyler Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for August the 6th. Our first order of business is to call the roll. Sheila?
Yes, sir. Carlene Darkford.
Present.
Clint Child. Philip Under. Christina Davis.
Present.
Michael Carmichael.
Here.
John Landis.
Here. Sheila?
David Hudson. I'm sorry.
I'm here too, thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there is some issue with the sound, so I hope everybody can hear. If there's something, you can, if that's good. I don't want anybody to miss out on what we're doing. The Planning and Zoning Commission makes recommendations to the City Council. Any item approved today will be heard by the City Council at its regular meeting on Wednesday, August the 28th, 2024, commencing at 9 a.m. If you received a notice for this meeting, you've also received a notice for the City Council meeting. If an item is denied, the applicant has 10 calendar days to file a written appeal with the Planning Department. The appeal will then be acted upon by the City Council. If you're here to speak for or against an item, please state your name and address for the record. Comments should be limited to 5 minutes or less, although extensions of time may be granted by the chair upon request. At the conclusion of this meeting, the commission will have a work session directly across the street at the Tyler Development Center, 423 West Ferguson, in the large conference room. And that meeting, like all of our meetings, is open to the public. The next order of business is consideration of the meetings from our last meeting on July 2nd. Commissioners had an opportunity to review those minutes. Any changes, corrections?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve those minutes from the July 2nd meeting. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Our first item on our agenda is a tabled item from our last last meeting, and so the order of business is to remove that item from the table to make it available for discussion. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I will move that we move this tabled item onto the agenda for discussion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to make this item available by removing it from the table. Is there discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the item is available for us, S24-006, Town Square Media Tyler, LLC. Caleb?
Yes. I won't go too much into detail on this one. I think we were pretty exhaustive at the last meeting, but I'll give just a very brief kind of reminder of what this item is. So this is a request for a special use permit located at 3810 Brookside Drive in order to allow for the reconstruction of a radio tower there on that property. This is the property here. It's zoned PCD, Planned Commercial District, and is primarily surrounded by RPO, Restricted Professional Office, mostly all developed with office buildings there. Future land use identifies this as high density mixed use. And this is the property here. Just once again, very kind of brief explanation. There was previously a radio tower located at this property that serves the KNUE radio station. It's located there. The tower was knocked over during the heavy windstorms that we had a few months ago, and the applicant is coming in with the intent to replace it. On July 2nd, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at the last commission meeting. At that time, the applicant was proposing a 150-foot tower located at the southwest corner of the property, right there at the southwest where kind of the parking meets that corner of the building. After hearing concerns from the neighbors, the Planning and Zoning Commission elected to table this item for 30 days in order for the applicant to look at some alternative solutions. There was also some concern with I believe the ability to put that tower back in the same location that it was previously, that it had previously been in. I believe there was some concern about the public notice for that item. That has been remedied, so I'll remind the commission that the Planning and Zoning Commission is able to request that tower go in the same location as it was previously. But the applicant has also come in and elected, as proposed, 3 separate locations for the board to consider. And the applicant is present. I'll let them go through that explanation of the proposed other locations. That's the property. This is the 3 proposed locations. Like I said, I will let the applicant speak to that just as kind of a quick sort of refresher. This is the previous location of the tower here, and you can kind of see by the shadow. Proposed location 1, this is what was proposed at the last meeting. There's a secondary location proposal here, and then third location up here on the Of the 22 notices that were sent out, none were returned in favor and 7 were returned in opposition to the request, for a total protest calculation of 22.41%. Because the written protest exceeds 20%, a favorable vote by 3/4 majority of City Council would be required to approve this request. Staff has reviewed this request and Staff has reviewed this request and would recommend approval of the special use permit, conditional to the tower being placed back in the same location that it was previously at the same height that it was done previously. But I will let the applicant speak to any other solutions that they have at this time.
All right, Caleb, thank you. Any questions for Caleb? All right, are there persons here representing the applicant who would like to speak? If you'd just state your name and address for the record.
Hello there. My name is Brent Lyon. I'm the market president. This is Chris Cobb, our chief engineer, and we were here last time. But I was hoping to add a little bit of color. I appreciate y'all having us back here. Yes, we did have a tower go down, but I want to just talk about from a community standpoint what those towers mean specifically. We reach 240,000 people on a weekly basis, roughly between 200 and 240,000. We provide the emergency alert system, which is if in the event that the president needs to come on, make an announcement, we want to make sure that we're able to get the word out. Same thing with the weather system. If we have, I'm sorry, a little bit nervous here, so bear with me for a second. Sure. I'll breathe. All right. But what that means is we have an obligation to the community to deliver news. One of the things that was brought up last time was the internet portion of this, and if we can just go using internet. Well, in the last 30 days, we've lost about 600 hours of internet failure to where we could not provide news and weather. So, hold on. I got it.
Take your time.
Yeah.
So as you can see, the proposed tower locations that we're looking at, and to Brent's point, some of the issues that we have with the internet is that we have very limited bandwidth at some of our transmitter sites where the stations actually broadcast from. We actually have a total of 4 radio stations, not just KNUE. A microwave STL system using a tower is really the most reliable way to get our audio from our studios out to our transmitters so that they can be broadcast. A lot of the other broadcasters in the city and in the area also use STL towers, the TV broadcasters as well as some of the other radio broadcasters. The benefit of using and having a tower is that we're not relying on any internet service providers. It's just straight shot from us out to our transmitters. We don't have to rely on anybody else. So we're not putting our eggs in another basket, so to speak. Having said that, and coming back to this meeting, we've proposed 3 different locations. As you can see, the number one option that we would like to go with is to put a 150-foot tower there at the corner of the building, that southwest corner. We could also put it at the proposed tower location number 2. If aesthetics are a concern, that's in the front of our building. As you can see, there's several trees there that sort of mask the tower. So those are our 2 primary locations. The third location is going to be very difficult to put a tower there structurally. There's a lot of drainage in that area, and to build a concrete pad and so on and so forth, that would be kind of difficult. So that's why we're returning today to make these 2 proposals for the construction of that 150-foot tower.
Any questions for these gentlemen? My understanding, the original tower, the one that fell, was 80 feet.
That's correct, yes, sir. So the original tower was 80 feet. It was located around on the back side of the building. Now, keep in mind that tower was constructed about 30, 40 years ago, and that was several owners ago. That tower was not really constructed properly. If this project is approved, then I can assure you that, the structural integrity of the tower will be there. So any future tower collapses aren't really a concern at that point. I understand that lightning is concerned, and part of that concern comes from back in 2012, that tower that we had originally, again, that was not constructed correctly, did not have proper lightning dissipation on the tower. Ever since that time in 2012, when we had that lightning strike, we put dissipators on that tower and have not had a problem with lightning ever since then. That's why you put the dissipators on. I know that the concern is, okay, well, yeah, it keeps it from striking your tower, but it dissipates that static electricity. And frankly, lightning's going to strike wherever it's going to strike. So it's not like it's directing it to another location. It just prevents it from striking our tower at all, which obviously we don't want, not to mention, any possible damage incurred to our neighbors.
Well, I guess my other question was the height. The other tower was 80 feet, and was that adequate for your purposes as opposed to the 150-foot request?
The reason we're asking, for the 150-foot tower is because with an 80-foot tower, given all the pine trees that we have here in East Texas, it's difficult at 80 feet for us to make a direct shot point to point. So what we were having to do with the 80-foot tower is relay it to one of our towers in the Chapel Hill area and then bounce out from there. With a 150-foot tower, all 4 of our stations can get a direct shot. That's the most ideal solution for us. To your point, we could do an 80-foot tower and get us back to where we were. We would prefer a 150-foot tower, but an 80-foot tower at either of those 2 proposed tower locations would suffice.
I have a question about the proposed tower locations. The 3 proposed locations, none of the 3 of those are the original location. What makes one of these 3 better than the original location?
So the way the new tower would be constructed, you're going to need about a 10-foot by 10-foot concrete pad. The original tower, which was a much smaller tower, and again, not very structurally sound, hence part of the collapse, we can't put a 10 by 10 pad up against that back fence where it was. There's just not enough space back there. We have some ground foundation issues that wouldn't support that as well. So that's why we're looking at the proposed 1 and 2 locations so that we could put a full-size concrete pad ensuring the structural integrity of that tower. If that answers your question. Sorry.
It does, thank you.
Okay.
Location number 2 seems to be further away from other buildings. I can't really tell across the street, but.
It is. That's actually a little grassy area there, and then, then we're across the street, and again, I know that aesthetics were a concern last time, so we've got some bushes and trees. We could look at putting up fencing or something there in that location. So it's not sticking out there on the corner of the building. It's not quite such an eyesore, for lack of a better term. So that's why we're offering multiple locations as proposals.
I don't actually remember what the prior tower looked like. Do you have anything you can share with me? So, any pictures, so I remember what that looked like? Because I don't remember it.
I don't know that I have any pictures.
That's all right, that's all right. I was just trying to refresh my memory because I don't remember. And let me I want to clarify this for me. The city of Tyler does an emergency siren system when, oh, there it is, okay. And that's the 80-foot tower.
Correct. That is the original 80-foot tower. That is correct.
Okay.
Around there on the back side of the building.
Okay. And that's a microwave?
Yes, sir. It sends microwave radio transmissions from that tower to our actual broadcast towers, where the audio gets received by the transmitter and then rebroadcast on 93.1, 101.5, whatever frequency we're on.
Okay. Another question I had, I was in a neighborhood in Tyler over the weekend looking at zoning items, and there was what to me was a new microwave tower across the street from Fun Forest Park and all that, close to the water tower. That's not your tower?
No, sir.
Whose tower is that?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. It looked just like this.
It probably is. For example, if you take CBS 19 there at Troop in the Loop, I'm sure you've seen that big tower that's out there. That's the exact same thing. It is an STL tower that this TV station uses to send their video from the studio out to their transmitter site, and you can watch it on your television.
Okay. We a long time ago, when cell towers and I guess microwave towers were pretty new, the city adopted I don't know if it was a policy or just a procedure to co-locate microwave towers and cell equipment on a single tower, so everybody didn't have their own.
Right.
Is that an option that would be available to you?
We could look at possibly, like if you're referring to like first responders or putting radios on that tower, we would need the tower at our studio location.
Okay.
Because you have to think of it point A to point B. We have to have a way to get audio from point A to point B. So if we move point A to another tower, we have no way to get the audio from the studio to that other tower. That's why it needs to be, that's why they're called STL towers. It stands for Studio Transmitter Link.
Okay.
And not only is it, an important part of keeping the public informed in the event of emergencies, but it's also critical infrastructure for our business. Our business is advertising. And so in order for us to have a reliable signal and keep our stations on the air, keep our clients and our advertisers happy, this is the primary way to do that. Rather than being at the mercy, like I said, of an internet service provider where we've all had the internet go out at our house, and you know how that goes.
I'm sure we do.
And didn't you also tell us that the other radio broadcasters in the market do rely on KNUE because it is the point of contact with the EAS system that then has to dispense it to the other properties in the market?
That is correct. KNUE is what is classified by the FCC as an LP1. That stands for Local Primary First. So that means that all the other broadcasters in Longview, Tyler, and in the area that are within the listening range of KNUE are assigned to monitor KNUE. So if there is a national emergency, KNUE receives that alert first, then rebroadcasts it, and then the other broadcasters in the area, their equipment picks it up and they rebroadcast it. The emergency alert system is a relay system essentially.
And what qualifies y'all as opposed to some other?
KNUE is a 100,000 watt station, basically meaning it's very powerful. You can pick it up almost all the way to Dallas, down to the Lufkin area. So it encompasses a very large swath of East Texas. Given that station's licensed power level, that's why they assign it as an LP1, because it's the more powerful station in the area. TV stations also monitor us as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions for these gentlemen? All right, don't go away.
Okay.
Are there others who would like to speak on this? I don't have a list of names. Are there others here who would like to speak on this special use permit agenda item? Yes, sir. Would you state your name and address for the record?
My name is, excuse me, my name is Robert Dodd. I'm at 625 Chase Drive. Ma'am, if you could, that purple folder of mine that you were using with the picture, you just had one picture? Oh, I'm sorry. Start with number 1 there, please. I'm a visual guy, so I like to try to look things out and make sure. In our first meeting, I heard 90 foot, 80 foot, I've heard 110 foot. It is 75 foot, I think, is what it was. That was what was there according to their news report. If you go to number 2, please. So this here is a Google Street View of, we just looked at this. This is what the tower looked like prior, 75 foot, looking at it from the north, looking at it from the south. If you'll go to number 2. This is what 150 foot is going to look like compared to that image.
Can you rotate that for me? No, that's fine. That's fine.
And the top image, what I did is I basically just placed the 150 foot line next to the 75 foot. The bottom image, you see where proposed site number 1 is. And then the third image shows, now albeit this is not probably the exact tower, this is the most common type of tower they put up. This is kind of what it'll look like if you're driving down the road at 150 feet. That's looking at it from looking south, and then you can go back over here and you're looking north. And of course there'll be microwave dishes up on top of that for the various transmitter sites. And is there a fourth image? Nope, just those, okay. So I mocked these up just to try to get my handle on, just get my eyesight, my mindset on what this will look like. And just full disclosure, I have an advertising agency, I have a graphic artist department, so they basically mocked this up for me, and we did some measurements. It's probably not to NASA scale, but it's pretty doggone close. But this is what I wanted you folks to see, because my argument for this is the aesthetics of this when you're in that area. This thing will tower, no pun intended, over everything out there, tremendously. The 75 foot actually kind of became part of the landscape in a sense, because it didn't tower that much further over anything, and it didn't go much above any of the trees. This thing you'll see probably from Gorman, driving around the loop. That's my argument. And the other thing is, yes, my whole career was in broadcasting. I totally understand the tower situation. The safety of the tower, I have no concerns with, honestly. I've been around them all over the place. They're built well, they're maintained well, they're inspected yearly. Not worried about that. The service that the radio stations provide is a very important service. It just, the expense of this, if we can do it with what they had before, I think I'm good with it. With the same size tower and the same approximate position. But a 150-foot tower just isn't going to work for me. So that's where I'm coming from.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dodd. Any questions for?
Could we see pictures 1 or 2 again, please. That one, yep. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And presence. Are there others here who, yes, ma'am.
My name is Karen Stansberry. Do you need me to spell that? Okay. We are located right next door to these folks. They're good neighbors, have a lot of friends over there in the station. The fence that, where the tower was located is the fence that goes to our parking lot. A few years ago, there was a request, and I don't know if you were here then, to extend the tower. And we found out, and that may have been 2012, we found out then that the existing tower had not been before P&Z. It was kind of grandfathered in. So 75 feet was the existing tower, and then they wanted to raise it another, I'm not even sure, I don't even remember that far back. Terrible, I know, but we, it was turned down because the city council felt like it was adequate. And the biggest concern was, what if the thing falls? Well, lo and behold, it has fallen. And luckily, it fell in the direction of the street and it didn't hit any buildings. We don't know that that's what's going to happen next. You know, obviously, there's no way to predict what's going to happen next. But if it had fallen the other direction, it would have crushed our building. And depending on where those three proposed locations are, y'all are P&Z. I know they say it's a 10-foot by 10-foot pad. I'm not even sure a 10-foot by 10-foot pad would fit in the parking lot on the lower left side in the grassy area to the right, but I know if you do it in the back at where all the parking spots are located, that's going to cause, I would predict that it would cause all kind of drainage issues into our parking lot. So we say we can keep the 75. We're okay with them maintaining their 75, but we don't want it to go any higher. And we're not going to suggest that it's one place or another, but it's a tough deal. It's a tough decision. But we oppose. And that's the lot that's 21A on your diagram. Y'all have any questions?
Any questions from Ms. Stansberry?
So just to clarify, you're saying you would oppose the number 1 or the number 3 option, but not the number 2?
We oppose 150 feet.
Ah, okay, thank you for clarifying.
75, and they've had the 75 since we were last, when this question came up again, I mean, maybe 10 years ago. And evidently, it's been functioning fine. I don't have your business numbers, so I don't know what to tell you about that, but.
No, and you're absolutely
Anyway.
right to that point.
Did that answer your question, though?
Yes, thank
Okay. And nobody else has anything for me?
No, thank you for your time and presence. Are there others who would like to? Dr. Temple?
Kaylee Temple. I'm at 3805 Brookside Drive, directly across the street. And I'm just going to piggyback on what Mr. Dodd and what Karen Stansberry had to say. We're not against putting back up what we had before. I mean, that was part of the landscape. We just kind of knew it was there. But moving it to the front corner, I would oppose that. That would be position number 1. It is going to be so obvious going up and down, even at 75 feet. But if it can be further back and at the same height that it was before, I think that that's reasonable. I will also say that although the diffusers have been in place, my business has had some problems with it. I can speak back to the former owner of my business, Dr. John Adcock. We did have some issues where we lost computers with lightning strikes, so it does still affect our businesses, and the vast majority of us being medical and healthcare providers, it's a really big deal for us with our equipment. So,
I was going to ask you about your medical equipment. Can you further share with us, because I don't know anything about
And
the
there's-
electronic impact that might affect your business?
well, there's a computer in every single room, so that's probably 10 treatment rooms, front desk, 20 maybe computers. Every dental chair has a chip in it, so there's that. X-ray units, every single room, and then you're speaking for myself as a dental office, Dr. Stansberry as a dental office, Dr. Philly as a dental office. There's an orthodontist 2 blocks up and an endodontist going in 2 blocks down. So there's a lot of us dental. There's also several medical providers. There's a dialysis center, a lab, and several primary care physicians.
Is it your statement to us today that you've had electronic issues with your equipment in your business because of this antenna?
This happened prior to my owning the business, but yes, we have a history of having some electronic failures because of the lightning.
Can you specify dates on that?
That would have been before 2015.
Okay, so to that point, yes, she is correct in that in 2012, we did have a lightning strike, but ever since then, we put up the dissipators. That's why I was asking about the dates, to see if you've had any issues since we've installed the lightning suppression on the original tower.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Carla, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to ask that, kind of the same thing, and we know it was attributed to the tower, and how often does this happen? But if it hasn't, then it's probably the problem solved with the added equipment.
We've also fully remodeled, so we have updated electronic, just the way it's wired is better than it was.
And your concerns, excuse me, are absolutely valid with that. It's in our best interest to
Sure.
keep the lightning away as well, because when Zeus pays you a visit, it hits our equipment as it would hit yours, but it hits ours directly. So it's in our own best interest to make sure that we keep that out of the mix there.
Good.
Thank you for your time
Yes.
and testimony. Any questions for Dr. Temple? Thanks again. Are there others here who would like to speak? Yes, sir. Just state your name and address for the record.
I'm Jeremy Kozad, and I'm at 611 to 619 Chase Drive. With regard to the lightning, we actually did have a strike in '22, and it took out about $20,000 worth of computers. So it blew out bricks. It was June of 2022, we did have a lightning strike at Chase Drive.
And was the lightning strike on the tower?
I don't know if it was related or
Did not
not,
affect
but
our system. So, I mean, again, I can't predict when and where it's going to strike, but I don't think that his issues, or if he had issues, we would have had issues with that. So I don't know that it was our tower that was the cause, so to speak, of that lightning. And again, I mean,
can't predict lightning. I'm in the insurance business, so we have lots of dealings with lightning, but we were struck and it burned up everything.
Thank you for your time. Any questions for this gentleman? Thank you for your presence. Are there others who would like to speak on this item?
If I may, just real quick, I know we were asking originally for, ideally for us, a 100. Can you move on?
Please.
Sure.
Ideally, we were asking originally for a 150-foot tower, but that's why Brent and myself have come to the Planning and Zoning Committee with several options. And from what I'm hearing from our neighbors, I think that people would be okay with us building back what we had. I would propose the Tower 2 location that should suffice aesthetically. So I'd just like to present that, I understand the pushback against the 150, but, we did have the 75, 80-foot tower where it was, and that was working for us. So I would just like to, ask the Planning and Zoning Committee to kind of consider that.
Since you've lost the tower that you did have, how have y'all been operating your?
We have been using an internet-based system, and to Brent's point earlier, you're at the mercy of the internet service providers on that. Whenever they have a dropout situation, we're off the air. One of our other broadcasters that monitors KNUE we're required to send out what they call a required weekly test and a required monthly test of the EAS system, and we had a brief outage when that test ran and he did not receive it. So had we had a tower in place using the microwave system, he would have received those alerts, we would not have been off the air, all of those things there.
And you said how many hours had you lost?
I think Brent said about
600.
600 hours since the tower went down?
Yeah,
That's a
off
lot.
and on, so.
When did you lose the tower again?
It would have been around the 1st of June, I believe. It was when we had those straight line winds. I don't remember the exact date. So it's been 2 or 3 months now that we've been running on our backup system using the internet. And it is that in name only. We have that backup system in place so that if a piece of our microwave equipment fails, we can pull it out, send it off for repairs, and get it back. So that internet system is, like I said, it's a backup system, but it's not really designed to be your primary mode of transmission.
You're not moving your radio station someplace else?
I don't think we're ready to have that discussion just yet.
I understand. Thank you for your.
Absolutely.
Any other person who would like to speak? I'm not making a motion, and I'm not gonna preempt a commissioner, but it does sound like there's maybe a consensus for 75, 80-foot tower at location number 2. I'm not proposing that. I'm not making a motion, but perhaps other commissioners would have comments.
Location 2 does, to me, seem better. One, it does have some aesthetics covering by trees. Number 3 is even closer to 2 different buildings, and 1 to me is just not a good location at all. So I would say number 2 and the 75 feet, what it used to be.
Are there other comments or questions, suggestions? Is Mr. Carmichael, would you make that in the form of a motion?
Do we need to clarify which one we want and the footage?
Yes.
Okay, I would propose location number 2 at 75-foot maximum, and I guess that's it.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to allow the special use permit to occur at location 2 on this map or chart and the previous tower was, there's some confusion, 75 feet?
I believe it was 80 feet, closer to 80, yes, sir.
Mike, you want to amend
Okay,
your
we'll
motion?
amend it to 80 feet.
And Carleen?
I'll just take it all over again.
Motion's been made and seconded to allow the special use permit for location 2 on this chart at 80 feet. And, special use permits normally come in time limits. Caleb, Kyle, that's gonna, I'm not sure how that's gonna work here.
Yeah, you're right. Typically in a sense of something that might be like a temporary use or something that we're kind of feeling out the ability for it, like a daycare center or something like that. Something like this that's a bit more permanent, I believe the intention would be the special use permit is approved indefinitely, or at least until maybe like the tower is destroyed.
All Mr. Carmichael, would that be your, I hate to ask you to repeat your motion, but is that your motion?
Yes.
And Carleen, is that your second?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Any further discussion? Our job here is to promote economic development in the city of Tyler, but it's also to protect our friends and neighbors and their property rights. And so if there's no further discussion, Sheila, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Colleen Dark Days.
Aye.
Michael Carmichael.
Aye.
John Landis.
Aye.
Chairman Hudson.
Is that an aye?
That's an aye. I wasn't called.
Oh, Christina,
Christina.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Mine's aye.
Christina Davis.
And Sheila came.
Yeah, she called your name.
Did you call my name?
She did.
Then in that case, I'm going to vote aye as well. I hope this is a satisfactory solution for all parties concerned, and the special use permit is approved based on the motions that have been, and second that have been made. And thanks to everybody for being here. If you just love to sit around and watch good government, you can stay, or if you got business to conduct, I understand. Next item on our agenda is Z24-026, Carla Ocampo, 1511 West Irwin. Caleb?
Yes, okay. This is a zone change request from M1 Light Industrial District to PMXD1 Planned Mixed Use District 1, located at 1511 West Irwin Street. The applicant is requesting the zone change in order to allow for the property to be developed with, or to be, allow for commercial and residential uses here on this property. As you see, this property is zoned M1, so are all the surrounding zonings. A little to the north is developed with residential, but primarily there in that area, it's a mix of retail, some kind of light industrial, not heavy industrial, but some light industrial uses. The future land use guide identifies this property as being neighborhood commercial. Just important to kind of note, it sort of identifies that whole area as neighborhood commercial, and then that area to the east is single family medium low density, which is not really currently developed as single family medium low density. Similarly, this is not really developed with neighborhood commercial uses either. This is the property here. So this property appears to have been developed in a manner similar to what we see downtown in our DBAC, Downtown Business Arts and Culture District. This whole kind of stretch along West Irwin is developed in a very similar style, like I said, to what you might see downtown. This property does fall outside of our downtown district, so the option of rezoning to our DBAC zoning is not an option here, but the PMXD is sort of allowing for the same things that would be allowed in our DBAC zoning. So the applicant is requesting the zone change in order to keep the existing retail on the bottom and then redevelop the top portion there for multi-family kind of units, sort of like an apartment complex or just some light multifamily living there on the top. This is the property here. Of the 12 notices that were sent out, none were returned in favor, and one was returned in opposition to the request for a protest calculation of 5.02. The opposition was generally against the idea of this area kind of having a residential addition to it, since, as I mentioned, it is primarily developed with commercial and light industrial. I'll add that West Irwin is a major entry corridor into Tyler. It sees a lot of traffic coming through. This style of development, mixed use, is very common and almost kind of best practice when you look at that sort of situation that it's in here, and potentially could be a growing trend for this area. So staff has reviewed the request. I'll mention, staff has reviewed the request and finds that it's generally consistent with the approval criteria. Staff recommends approval of this PMXD1 zoning and recommends that it be consistent with the uses and regulations of a C2 general commercial district. So that would be a sort of downzoning a little bit there, and also allow for the multifamily uses. Because this is a PMXD, there's not instead of having a full site plan for the property, it's more of a sort of narrative. And so that narrative would be uses and regulations of C2 general commercial with multifamily. The uses, right, uses allowed in a PMXD, sorry. And then the development standards, same as what would be allowed in a C2 general commercial, which is kind of how the property is developed now. Sorry, that all made sense. But.
And weren't some of those properties north of their zone residential?
Yeah, if you look a little to the
family.
north, you can see those RMF multifamily.
Yeah.
I think at least maybe I wish this arrow went just a little higher. I'm the one that made the map, so it's my own fault, I guess. Yes, I believe that some multifamily, maybe just a little north. There is a lot of these kind of smaller lots that you see up here. I believe most of those are single-family residential property up there. But everything along West Irwin is primarily commercial and light industrial. So staff's recommendation is approval with those conditions that I listed.
Thank you, Caleb. Any questions for Caleb? If not, are there persons here who wish to speak on this item for or against? Yes, sir. Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ruben Rodriguez. I'm the owner of Eagle Electric. I'm on 1521 West Irwin. Next to, it's next to me is, it used to be an old auto parts. Now it's the Carla Ocampo is the one. I don't know why they give a permit to people living there. They've been living in there in heavy commercial on the bottom, and people living in there for a long time. And the reason against too, because if the city let it do residential in there, later on, everybody want to do the same thing. Like if the Carla, the city allowed to do a residential on top and commercial on the bottom, I can do the same thing. Have my business on the bottom and make apartments on top and rent it. And I think for me, all Irwin is supposed to be a commercial or industrial, not residential. Maybe on the back where the family live, but now on Irwin, there's a lot of traffic in there. It could be a danger for anybody. That's what I think.
Caleb, would you show the protest map again, please?
Yeah.
And that's you in the red, Ruben,
On the red, yeah, I'm
Ruben Rodriguez.
And Irwin and Hill is my property. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you understand if something comparable is going to be done in the rest of the neighborhood, it has to come here first. We have to.
And just think, if people living there with the kids, sometimes the kids come out and run into the street, and the street is, traffic is pretty bad sometimes. But most of the time, every day when I see on the evening, it's pretty bad on traffic.
All right, any questions for this gentleman? Thank you for your time and presence. Are there others who wish to speak on this item?
Is this section, the green section to the right, is that parking? Is that all paved, or is that a building top?
Yes, it's all paved.
That's paved?
That's the parking lot.
That is the parking, okay.
The appraisal district has it shown as two kind of separate tax parcels, I believe, right now.
So that is the parking, though, for
Correct.
that building? Okay.
All right, if there are no speakers on this item, is there a commissioner who'd like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion for Z24-026 to deny.
Motion's been made to deny. Motion,
Can you explain what, is it because of the concern of where people would be playing and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think that's true of Irwin's. It has been and is and most likely will be for a while a true commercial strip, a true commercial park area. So I just think, I mean, you're a couple hundred feet to the north at the most and you're already in the neighborhood. And so I think kind of having a fine dividing line somewhere is how I see that.
Is that not the same problem in the DBA?
Yeah, I think just geographically where this is, just kind of case by case, and this part is kind of what my thinking is.
It is kind of tough one.
Yeah, could maybe Caleb and Kyle tell us more about why you recommend approval? And you said with some conditions, what were those again?
The conditions of allowing for the uses of PMXD, and then development standards of C2. That's more so for, if the property were maybe to be destroyed, how it could be rebuilt. And then also allowing for multifamily use. Would be the important part of that PMXD. Kyle can chime in if he has anything else to add here, but speaking to, I guess, the idea of approval or why it's maybe a good thing. Speaking to the point of, anyone could do residential there on that street. I don't know if that is an inherently bad thing. As John mentioned, it is currently very much a commercial corridor. Typically, when you look at other cities and these kind of entry corridors, there tends to be more mixed use, and as I mentioned, that is sort of a kind of a growing trend of having these mixed use developments. There's also the potential of future work being done to Irwin to kind of maybe mitigate the it being just a full commercial street as it is now, since it is such a kind of major entry. And this type of mixed-use development is very common and prevalent, what you would see there. I think usually mixed use is kind of encouraged really sort of throughout most cities in Texas at this point. That's kind of been the growing trend of development, is things like mixed-use development. That's why there was a big push to have kind of our downtown be a mixed-use area. That's why a lot of times we are kind of generally supportive of PMXD rezonings as well.
And those benefits, the benefits of doing that, could you maybe speak?
Yeah, I mean, usually comes to that whole live and work sort of thing. Walkable communities generally tend to be healthier and, less reliant on vehicles and auto, cars and things like that. Now, I realize that this is, like you mentioned, the concern of maybe kids playing out in the street or sort of not having all the necessary infrastructure for that type of, maybe development at this time. But I think the point is that it has to start somewhere. I think it's unrealistic that, 10 properties along this street will all be rezoned at the same time for a mixed-use development. So positive or negative, I'll add that this might set some level of precedent for that area of either being more mixed use or potentially not being mixed use at all. I'll also go back to the future land use guide. At least when this was done, it seems like the general intention was to kind of scale back on the heavier commercial industrial portion in this area, since this area was for neighborhood commercial, which is more in the line of, like office buildings and things that you might see like on Houston Street or kind of closer to our primarily residential areas. I'm still not sure about the single family stuff to the east. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But it seems like at some point when this future land use guide map was done, that the intention was kind of downscaling this area from the heavy commercial, heavy industrial to more of a residential, light commercial sort of area, which the PMXD is much closer to that end goal. But that can always be amended, and if the commission doesn't feel that's the appropriate decision here, then.
Mr. Landis has made a motion to deny.
I'd like to make a different motion.
Mr. Landis' motion dies for want of a second. Thank you, John. Mr. Carmichael, we'll recognize you for a motion.
Yeah, based on what information they're giving us there, and the DBAC is to some extent moving this direction and has similar feel as the DBAC used to have almost, I think I would recommend that we approve Z24-026.
I'll second.
Mr. Carmichael makes a motion, a second. Any further discussion? There are 5 of us. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
No. Motion passes by a vote of 3.
4 to 1.
4 to 2. I was a no vote.
Oh, you're a no vote.
I'm a no vote.
Okay.
Motion passes by a vote of 3 to 2. Thanks for everybody's participation. Next, we have Z24-24- Mara Magno.
Good afternoon.
Pronouncing that correctly? Okay, Anna?
Yes. Good afternoon, Commissioners. For this request, there is a zone change from R1B, which is single-family residential, to R1D, which is our single-family detached and attached residential. It is located southwest of the intersection of North Ross and Kennedy Road. The applicant is requesting the zone change to build a single-family home on an irregular shaped lot. The adjacent properties to the north, east, south, and west are zoned R1B, a single-family residential district, and are consistent of a mixture of single-family homes and undeveloped lots. The future land use guide would be amended from single-family medium low density to single-family and single-family attached. Out of the 29 notices mailed, no notices were returned in favor, and previous to this meeting today, there was 2 notices that were turned in against. Their main concerns was tax increase and traffic safety. Staff has performed a technical review of the request and finds that it is consistent with the approval criteria, and staff recommends approval of the request.
In the entire time that I've been here, I've never seen a motion on an irregularly shaped lot. I didn't even know that could be an issue. There's no problem. I've seen the lot. There's no problem with the size of the lot. Mm-hmm. Can someone discuss this irregular shape issue, Caleb, Kyle?
Well, I think it has to do with that shorter distance on the north or northwest part there, that if you have a 25 foot rear yard setback and a 25 foot front yard setback, that could cause an issue with putting having the building on that further north on the property. So what the R1D would allow is a 15 foot rear yard setback that allows them to orient the building a little bit better.
Well, the construction is well underway, and when I looked at this, I didn't have a tape measure, but it looked to me like the construction that's well underway is on the south side, away from that short property line. I
haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? Anna, have you seen it? Caleb left? Anybody seen it? He actually seen it? Well, it looked that way to me. I mean, the construction's underway, and so it's an issue I've never.
Is to the right of that slab, is that the north side of the lot?
go back to the,
Yes, I believe.
I think so too, yeah.
yeah.
The picture of, can you go back to the, yeah. I believe that photo would be facing west, the one with the sign in the far left. I believe that'd be west facing. So-
If you see where the stop sign is on the third picture?
Yeah.
That's the south side of that, southeast side of the lot. And the construction is obviously back this way. It's an elevated lot, and it's pretty high, but, and somebody's building some, is an applicant here? Anybody here? Yes, ma'am? No?
I'm gonna speak on.
If you want to speak, would you come to the microphone, please?
My name is Ida Mitchell. I'm a resident in that area, 1216 Kennedy Road. Where he's building, they're building at, it really so weird, thinking, if you look at it now, you thinking it's straight, it's not octagon, because they have fences. When I moved there was a fence there. They're still there. Now, I've been there 33 years, and that fence is making it a square. And it's not on the right property line. And I've told them to move this one going this way, which is towards the road, and this one coming down. That land is all awkward. And I've had, the little old pink ceiling is there where my land starts, but it's being ignored. I've had it surveyed, and the guy couldn't get over there to put my stuff right because of the fence. He said he couldn't get over there because it's private property.
Could you show me the lot map? So are you in lot this, are you Ms.
What?
Mitchell? Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ida Estelle Mitchell, is that you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So their fence is on your property?
Right, and I've told the Lewis guy, that's the one that's closer to my house, it's a big tree. It's a big tree behind that fence. And that property, there's a stake, when Habitat Fairs built my house, they put that land in there. There's a big metal stake there, the one that you can't remove, and it's been bent, but not to be seen, but I spotted when I was walking out there, and that's why it's all like that. I've told that guy to get that fence off, but he refused, told me to do it. I shouldn't do it because I didn't put it there. And if I feel like if I get over there on his property, he might call the police on me. So it's like a do damn or do or do not, you know. It doesn't make sense. If he know that's not his property, why? You won't remove that fence. And that's the same way with this one that's going that way. It's also part of my property. If you start at that road, right at the very end of my driveway, 1216, at the end, there's some the pink little sticks, what they put there when they got surveyed my land. And that stick is shown right at the area from where that little deal that's been bent over, that's in that fence line. That's why it looks so very straight now, because of the way they got those fences. But without those fences, it would be an octagon if it was in the right spot.
All right, any questions for Ms. Mitchell? Thank you for your
Sure.
time and presence. Are there others who wish to speak on this item? Applicants not here?
And the reason I'm against it, sir, I need that stuff moved so I can get my land situated. And we can put a fence up there right, and then it won't be a confusion in it.
Thank you for
Sure.
your time and testimony. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Johnny Kemp. I'm
Okay,
at 1218
can
Kennedy Road. And how they have it going in the octagon, we have a stop sign right there. So their driveway is gonna come out to the stop sign. So where are they intending on parking? At the stop sign? That's where the driveway is, at the stop sign. Then you're gonna have cars at a stop sign that's gonna be parked at their house. So you have cars at a stop sign that's gonna be coming out there? Another thing I'm concerned, would it change the school zone of where my child goes to school at? Would it change his district? Would it raise our taxes? Well, okay.
Thank you. Ma'am, did you want to speak?
Well,
Would you-
she just related most of the questions already. I'm at 1220 Kennedy Road, and last name Cheryl Irwin.
Are you here in opposition to this change?
You oppose it? I'm against it.
Come to the microphone, please, and state your name for the record, please.
My name is Cheryl Irwin Davis, and my address is 1220 Kennedy Road. I'm against it because we've been there for years, and someone come in just wanting to build a house, and we have to change our zone just because of them. We went through zone change, I don't know how long ago it's been, but where we had to change schools, taxes and everything, so.
Any questions for this lady? Can I see the map again? The owner, and did you say Kemp, is that your?
Me, Irwin.
Oh, Cheryl D. Irwin.
Yes.
Okay, I see. All right, thank you for your time and presence. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. As far as the things that they've asked about with driveways and all that, building department is going to take care of any problem of not letting them park beside have a driveway right beside a stop sign and things like that. Won't they be dealing with that part aside from our zoning question?
Right, I mean, there are driveway spacing requirements from intersections, so that will be reviewed. I just did a search. I didn't see that there was a building permit issued or applied for that property, so I'm not.
So that may be the
I'm
problem.
curious to know what the actual reason for this request is. I'm not so sure anymore. If the applicant's not here to explain that,
it's just one.
They may have a situation where they're looking to fix an issue that.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Would this be better to table until we can determine what the details are on?
That's one option.
Or the staff recommendation is to approve right now.
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Until we have more information, we're not sure. I think the thought process was that this is something that would help the development of the property, but maybe a zone change is not the issue.
Yeah, it may be that there's already something that's trying to be conformed to that is later than it should have been.
I've got a quick comment. Just thank you, ladies, for being here. And I just want to clarify, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong or get voted down again or whatever. But I was just going to say, whatever the decision made here on this subject property, it wouldn't change any school zoning. I know a couple of you mentioned that, or affect your zoning. That would just be strictly for this property if there was some type of a zoning change. But school-wise, there wouldn't be any issue or change there. Just wanted to make sure y'all knew that before you left or anything, so.
Thank you, Mr. Landis. In the absence of an applicant and in light of considerable questions about this, we have options. Is there a commissioner who'd like to venture a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would move to deny item Z24-024.
Now, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny this item. Any further discussion? If not, Caleb, would you call the roll?
Oh, sure, I'd love to do that. Carleen Darkbays.
Aye.
Christina Davis.
Aye.
Michael Carmichael.
Aye.
John Landis.
Nay.
David Henson.
Are you making?
My nay vote is just to see a table option.
Oh,
That's
okay.
my nay vote.
I'm an aye vote, so the vote is 4-1 to deny this item. Thanks for the neighbors' participation. Next is Z24-025, Spring RJP Operations LLC. One very patient person out here.
This is a zone change request from RPO to R2. The applicant is requesting the zone change to develop the existing duplex on the property. The adjacent properties to the west and south are zoned C2 General Commercial and are developed with commercial uses. Adjacent properties to the north and east are zoned RPO, Restricted Professional Office District. The future land use guide identifies this property as neighborhood commercial. So this request would amend the future land use guide to single family and single family attached. The zone change would bring this property into conformance with what the neighborhood is currently is a blend of residential and commercial uses. As you can see, the subject property is currently an abandoned duplex from the 1930s. Following discussions with the Smith County Historical Society, the owner developed a plan to restore the duplex to contribute to revitalizing Spring Street and the downtown area while preserving a valuable piece of Tyler's history. Out of the 22 notices mailed, 1 notice was returned in favor, and no notices were returned in opposition to the request. Staff has performed a technical review of the request and finds that the request is generally consistent with the approval criteria, so staff recommends approval of the request.
Thank you, Sheila. Any questions for Sheila? If not, are there persons here who'd like to speak on this item for or against? Yes, ma'am.
I'm the owner.
Would you come to the microphone so we can thank you for being so patient?
It's interesting. I'm Carla Kinderman, and I own the property, the duplex. I have 2 properties across the street that are short-term rentals, and this has been a real eyesore. So I bought it primarily to substantially improve the street.
Okay. When I drove by, it looked like there's an outside staircase on the north side. Is that going to be the entrance to the second floor, or how is that going to work?
So we have some pretty extensive drawings, but I'm not sure how to bring that stairwell into compliance, because it's historical, but the rise is not correct, so we're working on that. But yes, so it's a 3-2 downstairs, and upstairs is a 2-1.
Well, what you've done so far, it's a nice looking building.
Yeah.
I have to applaud you for
thank
what you've
you.
done so far.
Thank you.
So you're just wanting it to be residential again?
Residential, I think, and you know, what I've noticed is that street at night gets a little desolate, and I know we want to bring people back downtown, and I see young people living here, and sort of some energy to the street.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thanks again for your time and presence. Are there others who wish to speak on this item for or against? Staff recommendation is to approve. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move to approve item Z24-025.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve this zoning change. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item's approved. Good luck with
Thank
your,
you so much.
good luck with your project. The commission will stand in recess pending our walk across the street.